Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
If we take or more, and these now this gives rise to the notion of dimension of a vector space. Fundamental notion in this course. Two bases. Yeah? Any two bases of a finite dimensional vector space. Any two bases of a finite dimensional vector space. They have the same number of elements. Yeah. Any two bases of a finite dimensional vector space have same number of elements. So suppose that S and T are two bases. I want to show that they have same number of elements. So suppose that number of elements in S is less than number of elements in T. But linear span of S is V, linear span of T is V, because these are two bases of V. Linear of S is V span. T has more elements than number of elements in S. So by this previous lemma, elements of T are linearly dependent. But this is a contradiction because S and T are two bases. So bases have two properties. Their linear span is the whole space, and the elements in a base. So if S and T have different number of elements, then the number of elements in T is more than number of elements in S. But linear span of S is V, and therefore elements in T are linearly dependent. But this is a contradiction to our assumption that number of elements in S is less than number of elements in T, and therefore any two bases have same number of elements. Any two bases of a finite dimensional vector space have same number of elements. Yeah. So this is union of vectors. Okay. So the number of elements in a basis of a finite dimensional vector space is called the dimension of that vector space. Okay. So every vector space is either finite dimensional or infinite dimensional. Okay. Infinite dimensional vector space cannot have a finite basis, right? So and a finite dimensional vector space has the property that any two bases will have same number of elements. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. So let's proceed. Okay, let me give some examples of bases. So I said E1 up to En. Okay, E1 up to En, they are bases of Rn. Okay, this E1 up to En, the standard column vectors, they constitute a basis of that. So Rn is one dimensional. Rn is n dimensional. So R2 is two dimensional. R3 is three dimensional. R is one dimensional. R is one dimensional because any non-zero real number produces the set of real numbers. Okay, as scalar multiples of a fixed non-zero real number produces the entire real line. So R is one dimensional. R2 is linear span of E1, E2, that is two dimensional, and Rn is n dimensional. Yeah. Now let's see column vectors of n by n matrix. Take a n by n matrix which has coefficients from f. Yeah. Then they form a basis of Fn if and only if A is invertible. Yeah. So if I have n vectors in Rn, I'm interested in knowing when it is a basis. When it is a basis. So what do I do? If I have n vectors in say V1, just a minute. I have vectors V1, V2, Vn in Rn, and I want to test whether these are linearly independent. So I make a matrix whose column vectors are V1, V2, Vn. Okay, column vectors are V1 up to Vn, and I want to test whether these are linearly independent or not. Okay, so linear independence means that if I take a linear combination and suppose this is the zero vector, then all the xi's are zero. That is the meaning of linear independence. Okay, but this linear combination of these n column vectors, I can write, suppose this is my matrix A, that is same as A times x1, x2, xn equal to 0. There are two ways of looking at AX. AX equal to 0 means I take the first row vector of A, take the dot product with x, that gives second row vector, dot product with x is 0, etc. But AX can be also realized as linear combination of its column vectors. So AX equal to 0, have a non-trivial linear combination of V1, V2, Vn equal to 0 means that AX equal to 0, this system, homogeneous system of n linear equations in n unknowns, has a non-trivial solution. But we have seen that a matrix is invertible if and only if AX equal to 0 has only trivial solution. So that proves this statement that column vectors of a n by n matrix form a basis of Fn if and only if A is invertible. Yeah, okay. This is the proof. Look at PNR. Look at PNR. Okay. PNR is consisting of linear combination of 1T Tn. And 1T Tn, I have proved before, they are linearly independent polynomials. They are linearly independent monomials. And so PNR is a linear PNR is linear span of n plus 1 linearly independent polynomials. These are n plus 1 linear independent polynomials. Their linear span is whole of PNR, and therefore dimension of PNR is n plus 1. Remember, PNR consists of vector space of polynomials of degree at most n, and its dimension is n plus 1 because PNR is linear span, so its dimension is n plus 1. Okay. Now let's look at the space of look at all the real matrices of fixed size m by n. Okay. All the real matrices of fixed size m by n. Now I want to produce a basis of this vector space. This is a vector space under addition of matrices and scalar multiplication of matrices. This is a vector space. I want to detect the dimension of this vector space. So in order to detect the dimension of this vector space, I need to write this as linear span of a linearly independent set. So I'm producing that linearly independent set. Look at the matrix Eij. This is m by n matrix, where 1 is in ijth position and 0 elsewhere. Okay. So suppose I'm looking at R2 cross 3, 2 by 3 space of 2 by 3 matrices. Okay. Space of 2 rows and 3 columns. So I have these 6 degrees of freedom. Really speaking, I have these 6 degrees of freedom, and it turns out that this is a 6-dimensional space because I look at matrices. If I take a arbitrary 2 by 3 matrix, okay, then it looks like A, B, C, D, E, F. But then I can write this as A times the following matrix: 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, plus B times 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, plus C times 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, plus D times 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, etc. So this 2 by 3 matrix is a linear combination of these 6 matrices, where each matrix is obtained by having one as one entry and other entries are 0. So I can do the same thing for the space of m by n matrices, m by n real matrices. Eij denote the m by n matrix where 1 is in the ijth position and 0 elsewhere. So if I take arbitrary matrix Aij in F m cross n, then this matrix is a linear combination of these Eij's just like this. So Eij, the linear span of these mn matrices is the whole vector space. Yeah. So this says that f m by n is linear span of all the Eij's where I equal to 1 to up to m and j equal to 1 to up to n. Yeah. And you can check very easily that these Eij's, maybe I should have better notation. This should be small Eij. They are linearly independent. Because if I take linear combination of these Eij's, and these are the coefficients in the linear combination, yeah, there are Mn matrices of the kind Eij, and if this linear combination produces this matrix A, and if it is zero matrix, then every Eij must be zero. Yeah. So therefore, the space M by n is Mn dimensional, because these Eij matrices are Mn in number and they are linearly independent. So the space of say 2 by 3 matrices is 6 dimensional. Yeah. Then what is the dimension of n by n matrices with complex entries? Same answer, n square. This is n square. There are n square entries in a n by n matrices, and we can freely choose them. Let us prove the proposition. Let S be a linearly independent subset of a finite dimensional vector space. Then S can be enlarged to a basis of V. Suppose the dimension of V is n, and S is a subset which has less than n elements, and S is linearly independent. So if a linear span of S is not equal to V, then there is a vector V which is outside the linear span. Now you look at the set S and join V to S, I get a superset of S that contains V, and V was not in the linear span of S. We can prove that this S union V is a linearly independent subset of V. Now we will take the linear span of this new set, which consists of S and the vector V, and suppose its linear span is not the whole space, then outside the linear span of S union V, there will be one more vector, and then we can continue with this process. But since V is finite dimensional, we cannot keep on producing larger and larger linearly independent subsets of V at the stage at which the set has n linearly independent elements. Then its linear span will be the entire space, because if the linear span of n linearly independent elements is not the whole space, then I look at a vector which is in V outside the linear span of these n linearly independent vectors, and that will give me n plus 1 linearly independent sets. Okay, but that is not possible. Linear span of a set with n elements cannot have n plus 1 linearly independent elements. So therefore, any linearly independent subset of a finite dimensional vector space V can be enlarged to a basis of V. Okay, now let us look at the behavior of row space and column space in Gauss elimination process. So our purpose here is to detect the dimension of row space and the dimension of column space using Gauss elimination. But you remember how Gauss elimination is carried out. We multiply a given matrix on the left by an elementary matrix. Elementary matrices are invertible matrices, and we want to understand that in the Gauss elimination process, we get various intermediate matrices. How the row spaces of these intermediate matrices and the column spaces are tied with the row space and column space of the original matrix. Okay, the basic fact here is this proposition. Suppose I have a matrix A which is m by n, and E is a m by m invertible matrix. Then I can multiply A on the left by E, okay, and look at the row space of A and the row space of E times A. Then this proposition says that the row space of A and row space of E times A are identical, and therefore their dimensions are also equal. Okay, how it is going to be applied to Gauss elimination? In Gauss elimination, the row operation is carried out by pre-multiplying A with an elementary matrix. This E becomes an elementary matrix. We know that elementary matrix is invertible. Then this fact says that when I apply an elementary row operation, I convert the given matrix into a new matrix which is becoming closer to row echelon form. This new matrix A and the old matrix, the new matrix EA and the old matrix A will have the same row space, and therefore they have same dimensions. The row space of A and the row space of E times A have equal dimension. So when we apply this sequence of elementary row operations to convert A into A prime, and suppose A prime is in row echelon form, it says that the row space of A and the row space of echelon form are one and the same, and therefore the dimension are also equal. So dimension of row space can be detected by looking at the row space of row echelon form. Okay, that is the consequence of part A. Second part says that suppose I fix indices I1 less than I2 less than IK, I1, I2, IK between 1 and n, and the columns I1, I2, IK of A are linearly independent if and only if the same columns of E times A are also linearly independent. Okay, so in particular, the column space of A and column space of E times A are having equal dimension. Okay, so let me paraphrase this. So we start with the matrix A by a sequence of elementary row operations. I convert A into A prime, which is in row echelon form. I mark the columns of A which are linearly independent and look at the same columns in the rows in the row echelon form. This part 2 says that this if certain columns of A are linearly independent, they will continue to be linearly independent when we apply elementary row operations, and therefore the dimension of column space of row echelon form of A and the dimension of column space of A are one and the same. So therefore this proposition says that dimension of row space and dimension of column space can be detected from the same dimensions of the row echelon form. Row echelon form is far easier to understand. Okay, so let's prove this fact. Okay, so we want to show that row space of A is contained in row space of EA and row space of EA is contained in row space of A. Let's first prove this inclusion, that the row space of EA is contained in row space of A. Okay, now every row of EA is a linear combination of rows of A. Okay, we have seen that if I take AX, okay, A times B, where B is a matrix, then the columns of A times B are obtained as A times first column of B, A times the second column of B, etc., etc. Similarly, rows of EA are linear combination of rows of A, and so the row space of A, which is the linear span of row vectors of A, is equal to row space of E inverse EA, but row space of EA is contained in row space of A, and therefore row space of E inverse EA is contained in row space of EA. Okay, so we have proved both the inclusions, and that says that the row space of A and row space of EA, where E is a invertible matrix, they are one and the same. Okay, now let's prove that if I1, I2, IK columns of A are linearly independent, then the same columns of EA are also linearly independent, and vice versa. Okay, so look at the I1 column of EA, I2 column of EA, and IK column of EA, and suppose there is a linear combination of them is equal to 0. Now this equation is true if and only if the second equation, where I push alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha k inside E times alpha 1 AI1, alpha 2 AI2, alpha k EIK equal to 0. Now E is invertible matrix, so I can multiply by its inverse and then get that alpha 1 AI1 plus alpha 2 AI2 plus alpha k AIK equal to 0. But AI1, AI2, AIK are linearly independent if and only if all these alphas are equal to 0. Okay, so therefore the implications are in both ways, and that says that if columns I1, I2, IK of A are linearly independent if and only if the same columns of EA are also linearly